slap ago. Did you see that? It's not Blake Shelton. It's, yeah, sorry. Anyway.
You say it every time.
He stopped.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I don't remember
stopped.
who it was. Yeah, I don't remember.
He stops. It's what's his name that's married to the.
Well, good evening. We'll go ahead and get started tonight. First of all, I'd like to, Renee, please show all board members present tonight. And if you'll join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And next item on the agenda is always our favorite item. We have some board salutes tonight. So, Dr. Millen, are you going to take us through those?
Yes,
or?
I would be happy to. The first salute board is 4 Greater Clark students who were recently recognized in the Business First Publication First Honors, which recognizes the achievements of tomorrow's leaders. Congratulations to Charlestown High School's Sarah Rutkowski and Logan Johnson. Sarah is a senior with a 3.7 grade point average. Her leadership development experience includes class president, leadership Southern Indiana Next Gen graduate, 1 Southern Indiana intern, and soccer team captain. Logan is a senior with a 3.2 grade point average. His leadership development experience includes student assistant, athletic director, as well as volunteer experience with the Charlestown Little League and the City of Charlestown. Congratulations to New Washington High School's Courtney Haymaker and Abby Bergen. Courtney is a junior with a 3.7 grade point average. Her leadership development experience includes serving as a 4-H club officer and basketball team captain, as well as volunteering at the New Washington Elementary Library and with the Angel Tree program. Abby is a junior with a 3.9 GPA. She currently participates in the school's Students Against Destructive Decisions chapter in the Fellowship of Christian Athletes and spends her time volunteering in the New Washington community. So at this point in time, I would love all of those young people to come forward to be recognized. Please help me congratulate them. Right here for me. Our New Washington friends were able to make it, unfortunately, but we'll make sure they get their certificates. Both of these young people are very special. You know, I read a little bit about them, but it goes beyond that. It really is all about our students. That's why we exist. Everything we do in this corporation, it has to be for our students and for the betterment of our community. And both of these young people have certainly done a lot to make their families proud, have done a lot to make their schools proud, and a lot to make their communities proud. And so, on behalf of our entire school corporation, it is indeed an honor for us to recognize you. It's a small token of our appreciation, but you mean a great deal to us, and we'll always be there for you as you move on down the road. So, congratulations again. The next salute is the Jeffersonville High School boys tennis team for their fantastic 2015 season. The 22-1 Red Devils were ranked 4th in the state and 20th in the nation. This season's accomplishments include Hoosier Hills Conference champions, sectional and semi-state champions, and competing at the IHSAA state finals for the 3rd time in school history. The academic all-state team had an average 3.71 unweighted grade point average, 4 all-state players, 4 Indiana All-Stars, 2 academic all-state players, and an IHSAA Mental Attitude Award winner. Those are all who comprise this boys tennis team. Pretty impressive. All 7 varsity team members have attended Greater Clark County schools during their entire school career. So that shows great stability. What I'd like to do is, if you don't mind, Coach Riley, do you mind coming forward here for me? And because what I'd like to do, get your help if you don't mind, because we have a few certificates. And I'm going to just call out names, and these young men can come up and we can congratulate them for their outstanding performance. You know, though, if I can say one thing though, being a Mental Attitude Award winner is an incredible honor. Being someone that's been a part of athletics for most of my life and going to state tournament events and seeing at the end of the day, it's all about team, and it's about winning championships as a team. But the Mental Attitude Award winner, after all the team awards are announced and all the medals are passed out and so on, the Mental Attitude Award winner gets the kind of individual attention that's highly deserved. And for us to have a Mental Attitude Award winner in Sam Coward, Sam, come on up here. Certificate, and I'll read out the names, and then you guys can come up, and Coach can help me out if needs. Jack Riley, come on up. Good job, Jack. What's up with this hairstyle? Do you do? Yeah. Brock Winchell. Dominic Zelli. Good job. Cooper Falkenstein. Casey Wiles. Dibburn Constantine. Bradley Cross. Neil Bott. Move down more this way as the okay. We'll make sure. Dylan Ratliff. Okay, thanks, Coach. It's pretty impressive, isn't it? Jared Inman. Trey Botter. Nate Becker. Matthew Monroe. There you go. Blake Winchell. Lizzie Bishop, manager. Come on. Sarah Borders. Bryce Cross. She's here. Caitlin Driver. See that? Gabby Elder. Bailey Fouts. Clayton Robertson. Got to get the numbers right, or else there'll be a lot of people upset. Katie Wilson. Kelly Wunsch. Of course, Coach Riley. And assistant coach, Kurt Rainey. Hey, and you know what's pretty impressive? Just look at the numbers. And there are a lot of the individuals who had other commitments this evening. But the mark of a great program is that you have a lot of people that want to be part of it. And not only as active athletes, but managers, statisticians. I mean, this is truly a great program, one that has been outstanding for many years. And we really appreciate you guys have made your families proud. Jeff High, obviously, the city of Jeff, and all of Greater Clark. So congratulations, outstanding accomplishment. Thanks for coming, you guys. And parents who are here, thank you, because without you, we wouldn't have these young people. So great job.
Anyone from the board have any comments?
Room empty now.
I wanted to say hi to them.
I can tell.
Since they're leaving.
Let's see if I can get my computer screen back up and we can go.
I'll have my, I just didn't have it before.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on with the approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes tonight? All right,
So moved.
thank you. And thank you, Ms. Ullman. All in favor? Be
Sorry.
7-0, thank you. All right, next is the approval of minutes from the previous meetings, executive, regular, special. I'd like to take all those together.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms.
Second.
Perkins, and thank you, Mr. White. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Be 7-0, thank you. Dr. Mellon, any public comments on agenda items?
Not tonight, sir.
All right, thank you. Consent agenda, we have 5 items tonight. I'd like to take those together.
So move.
Thank you, Mr. White,
Second.
and thank you, Ms. Kraft. Any questions, comments on consent agenda? All right, all in favor? Be 7-0, thank you. Next item is gifts to buildings, Ms. Kraft.
Yes, it looks like we have almost $6,000 this month. And it's just such a pleasure to know that people care that much. And Pleasant Ridge PTO, again, PTOs came through with more than $3,000. So I would like to make a motion that we accept the gifts to buildings.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kraft.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Any questions, comments on gifts to buildings? All in favor? Be 7-0, thank you. Moving into the action items tonight. First one is the long-term disability insurance. I think Dr. Harris is going to take us through that.
Yes, sir, Mr. Pavey. Good evening, Board. Attached is a copy of the group long-term disability proposal from National Insurance Agency. Board, you'll recall you have already approved this contract, but with some help from Dr. Dykle and Ms. Mullins, we went back and we added our voluntary life insurance, and when we did that, they lowered their actual rate because we added some additional insurance that is voluntary to our employees. So at this time, the recommendation would be the approval of the long-term disability insurance rate reduction proposal from National Insurance Agency, and it goes from 29 cents per 100 to 27 cents per 100.
Thank you, Dr. Harris.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. And thank you, Ms. Solomon. Any questions, comments on long-term disability? All right, all in favor? B70, thank you. Move right into short-term disability.
Yes, sir. Basically, Board, in a nutshell, what has occurred, Humana notified us that they were no longer going to offer short-term disability to our employees. This is a voluntary program that we offer to our employees due to lack of sufficient participation. So we were able to work with American Fidelity, and they will pick up where Humana left off. Humana will continue to cover our folks that have been enrolled. They will grandfather them, and we'll be able to take care of all of those. So at this time, the recommendation is that discontinue the offer of Humana short-term disability insurance, continuing payroll deductions for this benefit for those already enrolled. We would grandfather them in, and then approval of the proposal from American Fidelity for short-term disability income insurance moving forward.
Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Kraft.
Second.
And thank you, Mr. Hall. Any questions, comments on short-term disability? All in favor? B70, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is permission to advertise the fuel bid. Dr. Dykle?
Every 2 years, we come before you and ask for permission to advertise. We're using the biodiesel fuel, so this is just a permission to advertise for a 2-year bid.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. White. Any questions, comments, Dr. Dykle, on the fuel bid? All in favor? B70, thank you. Next is cyber liability coverage.
Yes, in this day and age of cyber attacks on all different types of businesses, from big companies like Target and Visa and the Department of Defense and other governmental agencies, it's in our best interest to add a cyber policy to our current insurance policy so that our employee information is protected from these attacks. Neeks Lukens has researched the 3 companies on the attached summary sheet showing what they cover and exclude from their coverage, along with the annual premium for each one. Based on the recommendation, we're recommending Beasley Lloyd at their price of $21,490 per year. This isn't the lowest price of the 3 companies, but it does offer the best coverage. Brett and Amy and I met with Neeks Lukens and we went over it, and there's one thing they want us to look at, a certain software like a firewall. So as soon as we get that information, who we need to contact, we'll look into that and maybe look at trying to shore up our existing IT structure so that it is against any kind of hackers coming from the outside. So we're asking permission to go with Lloyd Beasley at $21,490 per year.
All right, thank you, Dr. Dykle. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins.
Second.
And thank you, Ms. Solomon. Any questions, comments for Dr. Dykle? All right, all in favor? B70, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is the approval of the grant for the 2015 through 2017 Title III language instruction for limited English proficient and immigrant students. That's a lot.
Yeah. Good evening. The primary objective of Title III is to increase the academic achievement and overall English language proficiency of our English language learners. So I'm pleased to inform you that we have been awarded $106,033.49 for the purpose to do this through professional development. It funds 1.5 teachers, as well as lots of different activities and instructional supports to help our English language learners. This is determined by the number of students that we report through our language minority report, and as you know, our population is growing, so these funds have increased, which we are very thankful for.
All right, thank you, Dr. Hartledge.
I'd like to make that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Kraft.
Second.
And thank you, Mr. Hall. Any questions for Dr. Hartledge? All right, all in favor? Be 7-0, thank you. Next is the Indiana MAC renewal agreement, and Schneff.
Thank you. This is a renewal of our Indiana MAC, and basically Indiana MAC is part of our Medicaid funding process. And what it is that we actually look at the administrative costs associated with providing those Medicaid services such as speech, PT, OT, transportation, and counseling. And the way we get this money is based on a state model. They send us what they call random moments. And that's actually a time where 1 minute in the course of a day that we complete a survey in order to determine if we were doing anything with that child that related to administrative costs for that child's services. They do it across the state, and when they do that, then they generate a dollar amount that we'll receive. And I think you might pull that up. I kind of want to give you kind of a sense of what kind of money we get in terms of in-MAC, but also our Medicaid reimbursement. And if you look at the first column, I just looked at the last 3 years and the anticipated revenue from this year. In-MAC, again, which is the administrative part of that, you can see we've received over the last 3 years about $641,000. In terms of Medicaid revenue, which is reimbursement for services that we provided to children, we received $927,000, $385. Then the state says to us, that's great, but you have to give us some of that back. And they actually take that money from us ahead of time. And then when we get this money, we reimburse Greater Clark. So to that end, we reimbursed about $320,000. Then we have a group that bills for us, Go Solutions, and you've approved them in the past. And over the last 3 years, we've paid them about $54,000 to do our billing for us, which is cheap compared to what it would take us to do that. In the last few years, we were also able to start billing with regard to transportation. That doesn't mean we can bill for all special ed transportation, but what it does mean is that if we have a student who is riding one of our special buses and they are also going to receive a service during the course of the day, such as PT, OT, speech, or counseling, we can actually bill Medicaid for that, and that money comes back to us, and it goes it goes from us to the transportation fund. And that's just something we're getting started on. We're kind of working on that still in terms of how to have a better system. It's very labor intensive right now to do that billing, but we're hoping over time we can come up with a better way. As you can see, then we have an available budget that we've used, and then I showed you our expenditures, and as you can see, we have a little cash balance, but we're eating into it this year because our expenditures have kind of exceeded our revenue right now. Part of that has to do with our in-MAC revenue, which is down this year, and part of that was we had so many people engaged in the process of those random moments that they came back to us and said, maybe you would like to cut that back. You'll actually get more money if you have fewer people. So we went in and cut that back, and we anticipate our revenue will go back up for next year. In terms of what we spend this money on, years ago, as a co-op, we said these are for special education services, whether it's for staff or training or whatever materials, whatever it is we need. And I can tell you, right now we're spending money in terms of supervision. We provide one of our supervisors is paid out of these dollars. When we began our preschool program and we knew going in that we weren't going to have enough money to support that, one of the ways we matched those dollars, we provide 5 of the para-educators through this grant. Tom's always happy with me because in terms of stipends, as we do all this training for safe crisis management, co-teaching, et cetera, we've been able to spend about $50,000 a year on that. We've been able to provide instructional improvement through bringing in some of the people that we bring in through that rather than through the general fund. Local and conference travel, and that's something that we've been able to get some of our people out to these conferences, when we think of our Pride program, a lot of the cost of getting those PBS programs in place has been paid for through this. And then equipment, software, some Read 180 software over the years that we've been able to do. So we utilize every cent that we have pretty well. We do have some cash carryover. Again, we're cutting into that, plus we set a little of that aside in case, as we've been working with that preschool programs, our preschool is totally funded based on the number of kids that we identify. And what we've been able to do is identify a lot of kids, but not as many as we anticipated. So any shortage we have there, we'll pick up through this grant, so it won't impact the general fund. Okay? Is that enough?
Thank you.
That's well done.
That should do it. Yep. All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. And thank you, Ms. Solomon. Any questions, comments?
Excellent report. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. All in favor? Be 7-0. Thank you. Next, we have the contract with Marjorie Simic Consulting. Ms. Schellenberg.
Through Title I funding, Pleasant Ridge has asked to contract with Marge Simic to provide continued support with the implementation of the literacy framework for 4 days during the school year at a total cost of $8,440.
All right. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. White.
Second.
And thank you, Ms. Gilkey. Questions, comments for Ms. Schellenberg?
Do we have subs for that day?
Pardon me?
Subs? Do you have to have subs for that day?
They do it through the grade level collaboration meeting. She meets at period 0. They do it through grade level collaboration through the day, and then after school they do. Teachers have 9 days that they give, or faculty meetings. She works with them after.
So no need for subs that day?
Well, I will apologize, but I just have a really hard time dealing with $2,000 a day. I'm sure she does a good job. I've been in her professional development before, but I just can't grasp $2,000 a day. I'm sorry.
And Amy, how many years has she been performing this service for Greater Clark?
I pulled contracts back to 2011. Marge used to be the director of Title I, so when the state switched to Public Law 221, our district has chosen the Title I school-wide model, so she was with a group, KJ Learning. So she had worked with a partner for probably since back to 2007, 2005 probably even. So she had been with Navigator Learning over the last few years. That set her rate at 2,000. She was asked to raise it to 2,500, and she left that group to go back out on her own, really to address kind of leaving her cost at a level place.
Yeah, to me, the price is just way over the top, but we paid a lot of money for other things in the past. But you would think since 2011, we have people on staff, people we already pay, that could watch and see what she does, and we can do our own training. We could self-train. And I just think this is too much of an expense. I don't know if this is grant money or how we pay for this. If it is grant money, we can use this grant money better off with something else, in my opinion. So I have a real tough time with this.
Why is Pleasant Ridge chosen?
Pardon me?
Why is Pleasant Ridge the one that's chosen?
It's not chosen. They asked for
Oh,
when
okay.
dollars are allocated out to the building, if they have extra money, they can use that money for technology, equipment, professional development. So they're the schools are the ones that initiate that. And since 2011, Marge has worked with 9 of our elementary schools, and 8 of the 9 have been A schools, and our A schools. One is currently a D, but has been an A the last 3 of the 5 years. And in talking with them, they do attribute this to the work that Marge leads them through. I think we get better through her work, and I don't disagree with you, Mr. Hall, about the fact that we have inside expertise, but oftentimes we don't have the manpower and the resources to be able to send them to the number of places, and oftentimes it does take an outside perspective. So I think that's what they're seeking.
And Board, too, just the Title I funds, the majority of those funds are going to help support staff in the buildings, our Title I buildings. So every once in a while, we do have a little bit of extra money that's left over, as Ms. Schellenberg was talking about. So the buildings have some opportunity to have some flexibility to try to meet their individual needs as a building. So don't argue the cost factor. It's coming out of Title I grant dollars, not out of our general fund. And it's sort of the going rate for top-notch people, too. And so I know it's hard, but that's sort of where things stand currently.
Ms. Schellenberg, don't I understand that she also has helped us with grants in the past, Title I grants?
She has donated significant time to us for work.
And
yes.
do you know about how much those grants have been over the last couple of years?
Well,
I just,
the next acceptance on the next item is 1.7 million over 5 years, and she was instrumental in helping put our 4 grants together, of which we won the 2. But previously, there's probably been about 4 or 5 additional ones that she's helped us with.
sounds like a pretty good investment to me, so pretty good returns. Okay, further questions? All in favor? And opposed? Mr. Hall, Mr. Zolman, Ms. Zolman. Okay, thank you, Ms. Schellenberg. Next is the school improvement grant acceptance.
The first round of the allocations came through. Bridgepoint Elementary was awarded for the first year, which is a planning year, $113,340. I will say that Bridgepoint, on our initial on-site visit from the DOE, had said, we really wished we would have written for a summer neighborhood visit where we could take almost like the old bookmobile concept out and visit the neighborhoods and have kids. And the on-site reviewer said, write it up, send it to us, and they're going to fund that for us in addition to. We had our second on-site just last week at both Bridgepoint and Parkview, and got really good feedback regarding where we're going. Parkview's planning budget for this year is $191,780. So our overall for the 5 years that will be funded is $1,784,704. We'd like to go ahead and have the board accept those grants.
Tough one, but I think we'll get this one through.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Thank you, Ms. Gilkey. Any questions, comments?
I know the schools work very, very hard on these, and Amy, I know you did too, so thank you so much for doing that.
Exciting.
It's a cool concept. I didn't understand that in the reading, so I'm glad you elaborated on that a little bit. That's neat.
All in favor? Be 7-0. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Schellenberg. All right, board, any reports or requests tonight? No? Okay. Dr. Millen, public comments on non-agenda items?
Not today, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, so we're to board comments. So, Mr. White, you want to lead us off?
Well, needless to say, I'm disappointed. I know a lot of people in this room are disappointed, and I'm looking at a lot of them that put in a lot of work, and to them and to the students, I'm sorry. I wish the public had supported the referendum. I think I know these things are needed, and we will continue to try to figure out a way to bring that money in to meet the needs of our kids, because that's what we're all sitting up here for, and that's what all these people from me are sitting up here for. And they worked hard, and I'm sorry that it didn't happen. And I'm sorry to the public that it didn't happen. To those that did support it, because I know how badly they wanted it, how badly they tried to get it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White. Ms. Perkins?
I can't add much to that, Mr. White. I agree with you entirely. It was on one side, it was very exciting and very rewarding to see the teamwork that was put together by our leadership, and I was glad to be a small part of that, and I know all of our board was helpful in many ways on that, but the dedication that I saw and leadership and the cooperation was incredible, and we didn't lose because we didn't try.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Ms. Ullman?
thank all the people that worked so hard for the referendum. And I know there's people that are disappointed, but times will change and things will get better and our kids will continue to grow. And I would also like to congratulate the 2 new Washington girls that weren't here this evening. So I'll be sure to send them a card.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
It's
Ms.
very
Kraft?
nice.
Ms. Kraft?
I can't get over how great that tennis team is.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's wonderful, and I was so proud of them. That's all.
Mr. Hall?
No, thank you.
All right. Ms. Gilkey?
Better not tonight.
Okay. Well, to reflect a little bit on Mr. White's remarks, I too am very disappointed. And I hope our legislative friends in Indianapolis take notice of this flawed process. First of all, something's really wrong when educators of this community must run a political campaign to improve the conditions of our public facilities. No other taxing entity has this requirement, not cities, not towns, not counties, not libraries, only schools. Second of all, these folks are educators. Their skill sets are centered around education and not politics. So for the last year, our superintendent and his staff have taken valuable time away from their jobs of educating our youth to run a political campaign to convince taxpayers we need to raise their taxes to maintain our facilities. I don't know how many sitting politicians were required to run a political campaign to convince taxpayers that they will raise taxes. And I don't know how many sitting politicians were required to have language on the ballot next to their name stating that they will raise taxes if elected. So again, I hope our folks up in Indianapolis take notice of this. With sincere gratitude, I want to thank our superintendent, Dr. Mellon, our administrative cabinet, staff, and all the many volunteers that took time away from their families to volunteer for this venture in the community. The passion and commitment displayed by these folks over the last several months is an inspiration to us all. To the kids, we're truly sorry we could not make this happen. Please know we will not give up. We lost the first round, but this is truly a hill worth dying on, and we'll continue to push on to make this happen. And to our taxpayers, I respect the fact you already are shouldering a heavy burden. However, the conditions of our facilities did not improve with this no vote. So as many of them have said, no one denies the need for improvements in many of these locations. Everybody wants safe and well-maintained facilities for our kids. So my hope is that we have increased awareness of the need and can count on you to help us find a process the community will support to make these much-needed improvements, because our kids certainly deserve it. So, Dr. Mellon.
Yeah. Board, I can't thank you enough for your ongoing support. Could not, believe it or not, add much to what was just said. Outstanding in terms of that language and that message and that passion. We will stay vigilant in engaging our community in the kind of conversations that need to be had. Why? Because of our kids. As we demonstrate at every month at these board meetings, we recognize our students and our staff for all the outstanding work and accomplishments, and they are deserving of facilities that are safe and healthy and provide a high-quality learning environment. So we will engage in the conversations, we'll develop strategies with the hope that we can minimize the adversarial approach that a political campaign presents and try to build a collaborative spirit amongst everyone in our community for one distinct reason: our children. I also just want to mention that parent-teacher conferences occurred last night, and they were outstanding. And again, that's a big reason why we exist. So our teachers did a great job. A lot of parents well attended, and so that went very well. And we'll try to provide more details for you down the road on that. And Officer Settles, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your ongoing support, and thank you, Board.
All right, thank you. All right, we have adjournment coming up. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. And do we have a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Zolman. All in favor? 7-0. Good night.